Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking inside a really fascinating operation, the Chinese content company MediaStorm, or Haino, and its founder, Tim.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. We're really aiming to dissect the whole thing. It started as, a student project, and now it's this huge machine, nearly 100 people.
Exactly. So our mission here is to get past just the viral videos themselves. We want to understand the whole ecosystem, Tim's own story, his creative philosophy, the tech standards they're using, how the whole place actually runs day to day.
And crucially, how they balance this almost philosophical commitment Tim has to, real experience, authenticity, with the very data-driven, almost cold logic you see from global giants, like Mr. Beast. How do those two things coexist?
It's a great question, because when you dig into MediaStorm, it's more than just making videos now. It feels like they're building this entire self-contained media world.
Right. We've got a lot of material here, details on their specific creative framework, the tech side. Seriously, wait till we get to the sound engineers.
6 sound engineers, I saw that. That's something else.
Yeah. And how they make money without selling out the core content that built their audience trust over, a decade?
So this is really a deep dive into the science, the philosophy, and just the sheer scale of what it takes to be a top-tier content creator today, especially in the Chinese market.
And what you really need to grasp, I think, is this central tension. Tim's trying to use the science of virality, the metrics, the optimization, but without losing that human connection, that authenticity.
That friction seems key.
It drives everything, their standards, their business model. So let's start where it all began, with Tim himself.
Okay, so the origin. Kim actually describes himself as an introvert, which seems kind of counterintuitive given what MediaStorm does now, right? These massive productions.
Totally. But he started super young, 15, in high school. And the motivation wasn't really fame initially. It was something more personal.
He saw video as a tool against forgetting.
Pretty much. He called it a God-given ability, this idea that recording life stops memories from just, fading into this vague blur. For him, video was like an anchor, keeps things real, keeps them permanent.
That's a powerful way to think about it. Not just content, but memory preservation. And this led to some humble beginnings, right? The UK story.
Yeah, when he was staying with a host family, Auntie Kong, in the UK, he was just obsessed with learning the software like Adobe After Effects, pouring all his time into it.
Constantly learning.
Constantly, and you see hints of the future scale even then. He talks about playing hide and seek and hiding, way up in the rafters of the house. He was really good at hiding.
Foreshadowing the 100-person survival games.
Kind of, yeah. It's like taking those childhood ideas and just blowing them up to an industrial scale. But the tech wasn't always there.
Which brings us to the space balloon project.
Yeah.
That became this huge, expensive thing eventually.
Yeah.
But the initial decision, where was that recorded?
Okay, get this. He recorded the actual decision, the vow to send a balloon to space, in a school bathroom.
A bathroom? Why?
Because his tripod, like a cheap one from Amazon, wouldn't go high enough to get a decent shot anywhere else.
No way.
Yeah. So you have this massive ambition, this complex project, kicking off because of a workaround in a tiny bathroom, that whole needing to find solutions despite limits thing, that seems baked into their DNA from the start.
That really sets the stage for his core philosophy then, this imperative of authenticity. He calls pure realistic field expression the scarcest thing now.
Exactly. He really pushes back against what he calls elite narratives, the super polished, detached stuff that doesn't feel grounded.
So he wants content that feels lived in.
Yeah, his goal is making works that reach real people. And for Tim, this isn't just branding. He genuinely believes it's the only way to keep his own creative passion alive. If he starts chasing numbers for numbers' sake, or as he put it, just charging or exchanging a number, the drive dies. The content becomes empty.
Okay, but I have to push on this. How does that square with modeling yourself on Mr. Beast, who seems hyper-focused on metrics and optimization? Isn't there a conflict there? Authenticity versus the algorithm.
That's the tightrope they walk. And Tim feels that tension intensely. The way he seems to see it, the data science, the Mr. Beast stuff, that's the structure. It gets the content seen, but the content itself, the soul, has to be authentic. Optimization can't save fake content, basically.
So authenticity is non-negotiable, structure is adaptable.
That seems to be the idea, and this commitment was kind of forged in fire for him related to his education. There's a story there.
Ah, the university story. Missing Bristol.
Yeah, he talks pretty openly about the regret of missing out on Bristol University, which is apparently really specialized, by just one point. And why did he miss it?
He was working on his channel.
He was updating his channel right before the Gaokao, the big Chinese college entrance exam. Huge pressure. He doesn't regret going to Kent University. Instead, he says that's where he really cemented the importance of recording life. But missing Bristol by 1 point because he prioritized the channel, that kind of solidified the idea that real-world creation sometimes has to come first.
That's a big sacrifice. Being open about it is interesting. Okay, quickly. The name. Hiei Media Storm. Any story there?
Yeah, fans ask a lot. Apparently, early ideas were Tornado and Rampage.
Rampage, okay.
But they landed on Hurricane because, well, it sounded the coolest, captures the energy. But even with all the success, 10 million fans, he still deals with a lot of pressure.
This rotten content anxiety you mentioned.
Yeah, it's fascinating. He's not anxious about numbers dropping. He can handle that. What really gets to him is the fear of having to publish something he knows isn't good enough.
Like being forced by deadlines or sponsors.
Exactly. He described it as like splashing hot sauce onto a garment woven over 9 years. One bad piece could just ruin everything they've built. And that fear, ironically, is probably why their internal quality control is so intense.
Okay, so that anxiety directly fuels their need for a system, a filter for ideas. If authenticity is the soul, this HKRR framework sounds like the skeleton. Break that down for us.
Right. HKRR. It stands for happiness, knowledge, resonance, and rhythm. It's the test every content idea supposedly goes through.
Happiness, knowledge, resonance, rhythm.
And Tim's rule, or guideline maybe, is that a truly viral hit, one that also feels meaningful, needs to hit all 4 simultaneously.
Okay, happiness is the fun factor, the hook. Knowledge is the takeaway, the value. What about resonance and rhythm? Those seem a bit more abstract.
Resonance is about the emotional connection. Does it hit home? Is it relatable? Does it touch on something bigger? And rhythm. Well, rhythm is crucial. It's the pacing, the edit. You could have the most amazing knowledge. But if the rhythm is off, if it's slow or clunky, people click away, especially early on.
So you lose them before they even get the value.
Exactly. The rhythm has to carry the other 3. And balancing them is the real trick. You know, a dry documentary might nail knowledge, but totally whiff on happiness and rhythm.
Or a silly skit hits happiness, but has 0 resonance or knowledge.
Precisely. Tim encourages his teams to push back on this, saying it's just experience, not absolute truth, but it's their core filter. And it links directly to a fundamental business principle they follow.
Which is?
Know your audience size. This sounds obvious, but it's critical for their scale.
Because you can't support 100 people on a tiny niche.
Right. Tim did the math, apparently. Like, for camera gear, maybe only 600 people out of every 10,000 camera buyers are really into the niche accessories they started with. That's not sustainable for a big company.
So they had to broaden the appeal deliberately.
Yeah, it was a strategic expansion. Move from action cams to mobile phone video boom. Audience potentially grows 7 or 8 times bigger. Then move to really broad universal themes like survival challenges. Tim estimates the potential global audience for that kind of content is in the billions.
Billions. Okay, that justifies the infrastructure we'll talk about later.
It has to. But even as they scale up the ambition, they have this interesting mindset for trying new things. Trash first, then legend.
Trash first, then legend. Explain that.
It means accepting that your first attempt at something new, like when they tried their Juduo duo content, it's probably going to be, well, kind of garbage.
Okay. Brutally honest.
But that garbage is necessary. It's the starting point. You put it out, you get data, you learn, you iterate fast. The worst thing isn't publishing something imperfect, it's being paralyzed by trying to make the first version perfect. You learn faster by doing, even if the first try isn't great.
That iterative process, learning from data, that sounds like where the Mr. Beast influence really comes in. They use his playbook as a benchmark.
Very much so. They look at the Mr. Beast operation as this highly tuned machine for efficiency and grabbing attention. It's about understanding the science of retention.
It's not just about making good video. It's about making the best possible YouTube video for the algorithm.
That's the distinction. MediaStorm seems to be trying to take that ruthless optimization and apply it to content they believe is fundamentally authentic.
But let's talk metrics. The big 3, CTR, AVD, AVP. How are they using these?
Okay, CTR, click-through rate. That's the front door. Govern of the title, the thumbnail. What makes someone click out of 100 million impressions? That's where the big, punchy ideas come in.
They could click first.
Then, once they're in, it's all about AVD average view duration and AVP average view percentage. How long do they watch? What percentage of the video do they finish? These dictate the internal structure, the pacing, the editing.
And the retention engineering is intense. That stat about losing 21 million viewers in the first minute for Mr. Beast, that's considered good.
It sounds insane, right? But yeah, apparently that's above average retention for that scale. It just shows how brutal the attention economy is. You have to deliver on the thumbnail's promise instantly. A huge hook right at the start.
Preview the payoff.
Exactly. Show them why they need to stick around. And they literally analyze the data second by second. If there's a dip in retention, they figure out why and potentially cut that moment, even if it's just a few seconds. Ruthless optimization.
So after that initial hook, what's the typical structure they aim for following that model?
Minutes 1 to 3 are critical. You transition from the big promise into the actual execution. If it's a challenge, you show progress quickly, cover ground, get the viewer invested, make them need to see how it ends.
But attention spans drift.
Right. So you need planned interventions. These are the re-engagement points.
The wow factor moments.
Yeah, usually around the 3-minute mark and maybe again around 6 minutes. Big, impressive spectacles designed to recapture attention. Like literally lifting a house with a crane. Something that makes you go, whoa, and resets the clock.
And if you make it past 6 minutes, the viewer's probably locked in.
That's the theory. They're invested. The back half can be a bit less frantic because you've earned their attention.
This implies a certain kind of production culture is needed to pull this off consistently. What are they learning from Mr. Beast on that front?
It's about A players and being obsessed with bottlenecks. Daily check-ins, identifying what's slowing things down, and just attacking the problem. There's this almost aggressive focus on delivery.
The God himself couldn't stop me. Quote.
Yeah, that intensity. It's needed for the pace. But it's also paired with this idea of creativity saves money.
How does it work?
Instead of just throwing cash at everything, find a more novel, maybe cheaper, but more memorable solution. Like instead of a $20,000 cash prize, maybe give away a lifetime supply of Doritos. Costs less, maybe $1,800, but it's unique, it's funny, it makes for better video.
Smart. Maximizing impact per dollar spent.
Exactly. It allows them to achieve that spectacle feel while still having funds for the really critical stuff like their tech and personnel.
Okay, so let's pivot back fully to MediaStorm now. We see the ambition, the scale influence. But how does that mesh with Tim's original focus on technical quality? They grew incredibly fast. 50 fans in 2014, 2 million by 2021, nearly 100 staff soon after.
Yeah, and that rapid growth caused problems. Tim was very open about this internal realization. Right. Just throwing more people at it doesn't automatically make things better or faster, not if the standards aren't crystal clear.
They had to systematize.
Absolutely. They had to build really strict technical workflows. And one of the most surprising areas where they invest heavily isn't cameras, it's sound.
Right. The sound is the soul of the video rule. That's Tim's line.
It's his absolute mantra. Sound takes priority over the camera in budget decisions, which is why they have 6 full-time sound engineers and mixers on staff.
6 for a YouTube channel, essentially. That's feature film level staffing. What are they all doing?
Creating incredibly detailed cinematic soundscapes. Tim gave this example from one of their island survival videos where they apparently mixed every single cicada call individually.
Every cicada?
Yeah.
You're kidding.
That's what he said. It implies this massively complex multi-track mixed dialogue, ambiences, Foley, specific effects, all layered together to create this hyper-realistic, immersive audio experience. It just raises the bar insanely high for anyone trying to copy their feel.
Okay, that's a serious commitment. And it extends to their gear choices too, but maybe in surprising ways. They don't always use the highest end cameras.
Right. For really tough, long shoots out in the field, they actually lean on older workhorse DV cameras sometimes.
Like standard definition.
Or just older HD.
Older HD, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But the point isn't the resolution, it's the practicality.
Yeah.
Those cameras often have like 6-hour batteries, built-in ND filters, really good stabilization. When you're out somewhere remote for hours on end, just getting the shot reliably is more important than getting it in 8K.
Function over fashion. Another example of pragmatic problem solving.
Exactly. And speaking of technical depth, there's this detail about their VFX work. The balls.
Ah, yes. The chrome ball and the gray ball cost about $290. Seems mundane. They look mundane, but they're essential tools for high-end VFX. The chrome ball captures a 360-degree map of the lighting in the scene, the environment's reflections and highlights. The gray ball gives a perfect neutral reference for the light's intensity and color.
Okay, why does a content creator need that level of VFX precision?
It goes back to Tim's authenticity rule. When their VFX team adds something that wasn't there, like a 3D model, They use the data from those balls to make sure the lighting on the model perfectly matches the real lighting of the scene. Shadows fall correctly, reflections look right.
So the fake stuff looks completely real, seamlessly integrated.
That's the goal. It prevents that uncanny valley look. It's another layer of technical rigor that most channels wouldn't even think about, let alone invest in.
And managing all these moving parts, the sound team, VFX, field crews, that requires serious standardization.
Totally. Mandatory use of cloud-based collaboration tools like Faishu or Lark in their case, so everyone's working off the same page. Defining standards like their preferred 2.1 aspect ratio, 3840 by 1920, which apparently works well across phones and desktops, and super strict file management. Not just for tidiness, but explicitly framed as respect for others who need to find and use those files later.
That respect aspect is interesting. It also extends to internal R&D. Right. They make their own tools.
Yeah, when they hit a wall or a workflow snag, they sometimes just build their own solution, like a custom MagSafe ND filter for iPhones because maybe off-the-shelf ones weren't quite right, or their Lightning storyboard app for planning shots in the field, even a custom metal iPad case designed for monitoring and rigging on set.
Solving their own problems. And this feeds into the learning environment they seem really proud of.
Immensely proud. They want new hires to get up to speed fast, so they built this monkey-style recording setup for internal meetings and training.
Monkey style, meaning
Homemade, low budget, but effective. They use a couple of really old Canon C100 Mark II cameras, like 8 years old, only 1080p, hooked up to a simple production switcher.
doesn't sound very high-tech for them.
The gear isn't the point. The process is. This simple setup lets them efficiently record all their internal training, building this huge, accessible library of knowledge for new team members. It's about rapid knowledge transfer, not fancy gear.
Smart. But even with all this control, all this internal process, Tim mentioned a huge external threat they haven't really solved yet. Content deconstruction.
Yeah, this sounds like a major headache, particularly in the Chinese digital space. The problem is that someone can take their carefully crafted, nuanced, maybe 15-minute video,
Screenshot one technically correct sentence out of context.
and then use that single screenshot, maybe run it through an AI summarizer like DeepSeek or just maliciously edit it to paint the entire video as wrong or inflammatory.
So their own high-quality work gets twisted and weaponized against them.
Exactly. It can destroy trust almost instantly. And getting platforms to react quickly, to take down misleading summaries or edited clips is apparently really hard and slow. The rumor spreads way faster than the correction.
That sounds incredibly frustrating and potentially damaging to the brand they've spent years building.
It's an existential threat, really, and it makes their business model, how they actually make money, even more critical. They need to be insulated from pressures that could force compromises.
Right, because if your integrity is constantly under attack from bad actors twisting your content, you can't afford to be reliant on, say, sponsorships that might pressure you to dilute your message or avoid certain topics.
Precisely. They absolutely need to make money. Tim says we must earn it, but they've built this firewall. The core review content, the stuff that builds trust, that remains pure. It's unpaid. In fact, it often costs them significant money to produce, honestly.
Tens of thousands of RMB per review, potentially.
Yeah, and time and resources. And they accept the consequences of that purity.
Which includes being blacklisted by some manufacturers.
Yep. Apparently, yes. Several camera companies have supposedly blacklisted them because their reviews were too honest, maybe critical. But MediaStorm just sees that as the cost of doing business, the price of maintaining viewer trust.
Okay, so if the main content is essentially a loss leader, or at best breaks even, where does the money come from to pay nearly 100 people and fund all this tech?
It comes from separate business units that leverage their core expertise. They act as a high-end production house for hire.
B2B services.
Exactly. Producing TV commercials for other brands, offering specialized live broadcast services like running the tech side of product launches for other companies, and developing and selling their own specialized products like those filters and cases. They're selling their skills to the industry, which keeps the channel editorially independent.
That's a clever model, and it clearly works because it supported massive physical scaling. They outgrew their space way faster than expected.
Yeah, planned for 3 years, outgrew it in 1.5, which led to a huge decision.
Building.
They didn't just lease a bigger office. They acquired an entire building to be their new permanent HQ.
Wow. That's commitment.
And they apparently vowed, unless the company fails, we are not moving again. That level of investment in physical infrastructure signals huge confidence in their future.
And the plans for inside that building sound equally ambitious. It's about becoming that self-sufficient ecosystem.
Totally. They're planning things like a massive 8K control room, like you'd see in broadcast television, a dedicated rendering farm for their growing VFX team, even a specialized micromodeling department.
What does a micromodeling department do?
They gave an example where this team built super realistic, tiny hidden camera props for some kind of test video. It shows they're building capacity for really specialized in-house fabrication and engineering, moving towards feature film level capabilities.
Which lines up perfectly with the corporate name, right? Ing.
Exactly. Seeing AO literally translates to starry sky and Oscars.
Can't get much clearer than that.
It lays out the roadmap. Viral short-form content is seen as the training ground. The real goal is feature films, storytelling on that scale, and ultimately winning an Oscar as the peak validation of their craft.
And the starry sky part wasn't just symbolic either. The satellite project.
Yeah, the IS-based satellite, that was a huge undertaking. Took 2.5 years, cost somewhere in the $1.4 million range. A microsatellite launched into a 500-kilometer orbit.
In collaboration with Insta360 and KC, China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation.
Right. And the point wasn't just to make a cool video about space. It was framed as an investment in the audience's dreams. They released the full 360-degree footage from orbit and let fans basically create their own images of Earth from space.
Turning the content into a shared resource, a platform for the audience's creativity.
Yeah, a really interesting way to engage the community, funded by the B2B side of the business. It reinforces that starry sky ambition.
And finally, tying it all together, Tim's ultimate personal dream.
Once the company got to this scale, he shared it. My lifelong dream is to go to Mars.
Okay. Starry sky, Oscars, Mars. The ambition is definitely there. Hashtag outro. So when you step back and look at MediaStorm, it's this incredible mix, isn't it? You've got this deeply personal, almost philosophical drive for authenticity from Tim, starting from that need to just document reality.
Yeah, born from a simple impulse.
But then it's scaled into this massive, technically sophisticated, multi-million-dollar operation with nearly 100 people. They're using insights from the most data-driven creators like Mr. Beast, but trying to maintain that soul.
And protecting that soul with a really specific business model, that firewall between the content and the commerce.
All while aiming for, the Oscars and Mars. It's quite a story.
It really is. And the core lesson, I think, comes back to what Tim said. The process is the only thing we can change. They show you need both sides of the coin now. You need the scientific rigor, the data, the retention hacks, knowing where to put the wow moment.
The Mr. Beast science.
Right. But you also need that intense personal commitment to the craft, to authenticity, obsessing over the sound mix of a cicada, the lighting on a VFX model. That blend of science and soul, executed through a rigorous process, seems to be their formula.
We've traced them from, like you said, a cheap tripod in a school bathroom to literally buying a building, planning render farms, launching a satellite. It really makes you think, doesn't it? For anyone creating content today.
Yeah, where's the line?
At what point do you stop being just a creator and start becoming this self-sufficient media ecosystem where the thing you're really building isn't just the next video, but the entire factory that makes the videos?
That complexity, that integration, maybe that's the future for creators who reach a certain scale. Building the machine becomes as important as what the machine produces.
A fascinating thought to end on.
Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.